Hello and good morning, everybody. Joe Justice coming to you live from right here in Charleston, West Virginia, at the headquarters of Advantage Technology. Just want to say hi to everybody and welcome you in today as we finish up our final week of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And as we're going into our discussion today, I thought I would bring up something that pops up all the time, probably the most pernicious form of cyber attack that there is out there, and that is phishing. The phishing scams that proliferate all over the internet, and that is phishing, spelled with a phishing. Phishing. So phishing, and you're probably wondering to yourself, why is it called phishing? Well, before we get into that, let's just discuss exactly what phishing is here real quick. Phishing is any of those, and everybody's seen these, everybody's experienced these. Those are the types of emails that ask you for some kind of information, or they try to trick you into clicking on a link, or they try to get you to send them an email address or a password, or they say that they're a friend of yours that's in a foreign country and they need your help. All those kinds of things, those fall under the umbrella of phishing. Now, why do we spell phishing with a PH? So all that goes back to a very old culture. Go with me back in time to the ancient days of the 1970s, long, long ago, with long hair and bell bottoms and all of the mysterious things that your parents and grandparents told you about. Back in those days, the most advanced kind of technology that people had ready access to was telecommunication systems. And in a lot of ways, the modern internet, modern computing, modern communication is really just an extension of the telecommunication system that really started to go into its own as far as a technology in the 60s and then particularly in the 70s. Because you have to remember, back before that, it was switchboard operators. You literally had somebody unplugging wires and then plugging them into other outlets and then unplugging and then plugging, stuff like that. There was no technology involved. So telecommunications drove a ton of the technology that's used today, and it drove a lot of really new and exciting information-based technology. Now, what was interesting about that is you had these young people, these young smart people like Steve Wozniak, which you might be familiar with that name if you don't know him specifically. Steve Wozniak was the co-founder of Apple. He worked with Steve Jobs. He was actually the engineer that designed pretty much everything that Steve Jobs then went on to sell. Steve Jobs was much more of a marketer than he was an engineer himself. So Steve Wozniak was the guy that worked with him, and he was part of this community of hackers that would try to figure out ways to interact with the telecommunication systems to get, like free long distance, or to make calls without being charged for them, and all kinds of other things. And it was really, what's interesting about it, it wasn't really malicious. They were really curious. This was a technology that was available to them that, before that wasn't really available. It wasn't, they didn't have personal computers. There's no way a regular person could access any kind of like massive telecommunication network, any kind of network, understand the technology, understand that kind of stuff. So this gave them the ability to play with that. Well, long story short, that overall kind of hacking mentality and hacking way of thinking became known as phreaking, spelled with a PH. Phreaking. So they were phone phreakers, and they were this community that evolved, kind of like hacker communities today. They called themselves phreakers, and they said they were phreaking the systems and stuff like that, all through this kind of experimentation to understand how these massive telecommunication systems work. So as time went on, hacking became known as phreaking, and there was all kinds of different, techniques around that. So over time, when the email techniques that we know of today as trying to, get information from people, basically forms of, at the end of the day, it's just social manipulation. Those types of systems became known as phishing because they would send out lures, right? That's what the email was. It was a lure to try to get people to bite on it. So they called it phishing. and that's where the PH comes from. It comes from the freaking movement from the 70s. So that's how we end up with phishing spelled with a PH. So why is it so pernicious? Why is it everywhere? And I think the real reason for that is that everybody just has email, and email is super simple protocol. It's non-centralized. Everybody has it. There's nobody that controls it. There's nobody that limits it. Um, but of course, there are other types of very similar social engineering. Like you've probably received scam messages on like Facebook Messenger or LinkedIn Messenger, and of course, everybody's received the spam phone calls. Even though a spam, if it's a phone call, it's not really spam. But they're used to those calls that they get that say, "Hey, like your car warranty is out, and you need to call this number to fix your warranty," or stuff like that. That's all the same general social engineering technique, the same concepts. You throw a lure out, 1,000 to 1,000 people. One of them bites on it, and then now you've got yourself, you get yourself a fish hooked. That's phishing, okay? But phishing tends to specifically be talking about the email scams that are related to. So it's not all doom and gloom. I know that all sounds like some pretty scary stuff because it's so common, and you're probably wondering what kind of information are they after. And the truth is, they're after all kinds of things. There's no way to tell what they're after. They might be after financial reports. They might be after credit card numbers. They might just be trying to figure out if the email address is still active. If you reply to it, that might be all they want. They want to know, did somebody answer this email address? Is there somebody monitoring this email account? There's all kinds of things that they're looking for, but some of the more common ones are, they might pretend to be the IRS. They might pretend to be your bank, like say Chase Bank. They might pretend to be like your local court that says that you're in violation of a subpoena or something like that. So how do you tell if it's really the bank? How do you tell if it's really the IRS? How do you tell if it's really the court? Well, first and foremost, the one and simple, most important thing that I cannot stress enough is there is no legitimate organization, and I mean this, none, no banks, no government organizations, no law firms, no, it doesn't matter what they say. There is no organization that will ask for private information via email, because email is not private, it's not encrypted, it's not secure. So if you receive an email that says it's from the local circuit court, that says that you're in violation of a subpoena, that wants some information, your home address, your social security number, anything like that, and they want it in the email, that is absolutely 100% a phishing scam, and never, ever, ever fall for anything like that. So that's the first way. That's a really common way that people fall for it. The other thing are attachments. They'll send attachments, and a lot of the attachments nowadays are two-pronged attachments. So what they'll be is like a Word document that's got a macro built into it. So they send you the macro, and then you open the document, and the clever bit is this. The clever bit is the document actually tells you how to enable the macro, because it'll say something like, oh, this document can't be displayed on your computer. So follow these steps to enable the document for viewing. Well, that's all just social engineering. Following those steps will then be what infects your computer with whatever payload they delivered, okay? So documents, never open documents, especially unsolicited documents if you have no idea who they're from. And be skeptical of every document. If the document comes from your own mother and she says, this is really important, this is my will and testament, and I need you to read it before noon because I'm going to die, do not open it if you're even a little hesitant. I don't think Mom never talked about sending me a will anytime soon. Just be skeptical. Always doubt everything, okay? And when, the old saying, I think it was Ronald Reagan, again, going way back in time, right? He said, trust but verify. And that's what you need to do with absolutely everything. Every email, every attachment, anything that you get like that, you want to trust but verify, and verify it first. So if anything's questionable that comes in, you want to contact them. Any links to sites that want you to enter information, also very, very questionable. Check the links, okay? Now, again, most important, do not do anything that you're unsure about. Be 100% sure. If Chase, your bank, if Chase Bank sends you something that says your account's been hacked, enter your bank account information on this page to verify it's you, okay? A quick and easy way that you can see if that's real, first of all, just call the bank. Don't enter any information on a form online. But one thing you can do to see if it's real or not is go to the link and see, is it actually going to chase.com? A really common technique that they'll do is they'll change the domain. So there's tons of different kinds of domains out there that are available today. So just as an example, one of the domains that's available out there today that you can buy a domain, a .xyz, and it's really, really common for these phishing organizations, these hackers, to use .xyz. So it might go to, instead of going to chase.com, it goes to chase.xyz. Double check that. And again, I would recommend that if Chase sends you an email saying, your account's blocked and you have to enter in some information to get it unblocked, that you just don't believe that, okay? Call the bank. Call them and have your account number and say, I just received this email saying this account was blocked. Can you verify if it was blocked or not? And I can almost guarantee you they're going to say, no, it's not blocked. That's a phishing scam. Now, the next big thing that you need to worry about that's a little scary, that is becoming more and more common as more and more information is distributed on the internet, is spear phishing scams. Spear phishing is when they take a specific piece of information about you and then send you an email related to it. So, a really common example, they might figure out who your boss's name is. So the owner of your company, let's say you work at Acme Widget Company and the boss is Jim Smith. Well, they'll send you an email that looks like it's from Jim Smith. And it might say something like, hey, this is Jim. I need some help up in the conference room. I can't log on to the computer. Can you send me your password so I can log in? And that's a very specific, that's called a spear phishing, because that email was either sent just to you or maybe it was sent to everybody in your organization, but not everybody in the world, see? So now it looks legitimate. You look, oh, this email's from Mr. Smith. Well, I've got to answer it or else I'm going to get fired. And that's the technique. That's the technique that is capturing a lot of people today, and that's called spear phishing. Now, just to be clear, just so you understand the scale of this, there's not somebody sitting at a keyboard typing out these emails to people. They've got these massive databases and they've got all these pre-programmed templates, and all they do is merge them together and blast out thousands and thousands of emails. They find somebody, they find like the domain name, the domain for your email address. They match it up in their database for the boss in that email address. Then they just fill in the blanks, and it's like a phishing Mad Lib, and they send it straight to you, and you think, well, this is coming from the boss man. I better answer it. So watch out for those, and those are getting to be very, very, very common, and they're doing nothing but expanding, especially over the last few years. So with all that said, I hope that helps you out. I hope as we wrap up this month in cybersecurity awareness, I hope that these techniques will help you out. I'd ask you to, if you found something interesting here, and if you think this will help out your team at your office, I would ask you to please like and share. Send this out to others that could benefit from it. And I thank you for watching this long. I'll see you again tomorrow, and we'll continue discussing cybersecurity topics on Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Thank you again. This is Joe Justice from Advantage Technology. Have a great day.